TGIF. Hope you all have had a wonderful week. I know you are ready for the weekend to begin. So, welcome to the Just Ask Shar advice channel. We will be getting started very soon. So get comfortable, get ready, and relax. We sincerely thank you all for your support. This channel is sponsored by you, the subscribers. When you want to hear another perspective for yourself or a friend, then just send an email for advice to justaskshar@gmail.com. All right, we are ready to get this show started. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend. There will always be a perspective or some advice that someone can benefit from and use. Now, here's your host of the show, Shar Willett.
TGIF, everyone. How are you? What's going on? What's happening? Hope you guys had a fabulous week. It has been a quite long one for myself, I must say. But we are here, and that's the good thing. Hope you are well and keeping yourself nice and healthy and safe, because that's important too. There is so much going on. I can't even keep up with it. It's just a lot going on here in Chicago, with the weather warming back up, and oh boy, it's just been something. I've heard helicopters. What else? I don't know. People are wilding out, and it used to be a joke, and not necessarily a joke, I would say, but you would wonder if a criminal wants to get some money, why would they rob in their neighborhood? Well, we understand, they don't have to go far and, easy access. But the folks in the neighborhood really didn't have a whole lot. So the criminals have gotten a lot smarter. So they're going where all the hotels and businesses, and they like, oh, let me get some of these travelers. So they're more successful with the outcome, I guess you would say. But hey, it is something else, and I think there's something the mayor is looking to introduce. I don't know how that's going to work out. I didn't get a chance to see all of the news on that, but the mayor definitely wants to try to help out with this crime that's going on because the carjackings, they have gone down. They were really bad late last year. Well, yeah, late last year and early part of this year. They were really bad. It was several a day. You couldn't even keep up with them. So, yeah, that's how that's been. And like I said, it's been a long week. But what I had decided, I don't know, it was stayed on my mind because there's a lot of questions that people never answer. And I don't know, I'm a question kind of girl. I won't argue with you. I just like to understand why you say what you say, why you think the way you think. And that's it. That's all I ask. I just try to find that out. And then I'm done. I'm quiet. I don't have nothing else to say because what you choose, your direction is yours. You have that right. And so we got good 4 questions. It probably will take us into the end of the show. And if not, we definitely will take the questions that you may think of that you've never seen answered. And we'll let you know on that time. Well, without further ado, here is the lovely, the beautiful, the wonderful, classic Ruby, everybody.
Why, good evening, Lady Shar. Good evening, good evening. I am very excited to be answering questions for the ladies and gentlemen today because you know what? I mean, it's such a foreign concept. I don't even think people are going to understand what we're doing. Like, they're going to be like, you're answering? What does that mean? Solution? I don't think I've heard that word before. Can you define that for me? What is an answer? Just so I'm
An
clear.
answer is something that people use to, let me see, what would be the synonym for answer? I don't know. I have to look it up. But for there's questions. There is open-ended questions and there are closed-ended questions. We
Hmm.
know that. Um, but a lot of the questions that are asked are always open for discussion because they're just not accepted at face value. So if I ask a doctor, excuse me, doctor, why does it take so long for you to become a doctor to go to school? I don't get it. Why
Hmm.
so long? Well, there's just so many things we have to study. We have to get the medications. We have to practice. It's just so much before we actually become certified to make sure that we can give the patient the best care.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the person just can't accept that. It just takes so long. But why did it just takes so long? Okay, well, I just explained it. But you can cut it in half.
Hmm.
No, not for my MD, not for the medical doctorate. No, I can't cut it in half. It has proven to be standard if we do, let's say, 8 years. But no, 8 years, about if you start in your 20s, you're in your late 20s, you know. Well, that's okay. I mean, if this is the passion, it's the desire I have in the field or anyone else, that's, the direction I'm going to go. But
Mm,
but you'll be paying for student loans for a long time, and you don't get a chance to get married and do this when you're early. You don't get a chance to have any fun because you're doing all this studying. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, those are some things that happen, but to answer your question, it takes 8 years. But why 8 years? And then it just goes on, panel after panel, year after year, and probably decade.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
So
That
I hope
is very
that
much
answers
for
the
sure.
question.
See, this is the thing, right? And people think, right, if they just keep asking the question, right? Like maybe you didn't hear them correctly. Maybe you didn't understand. You didn't understand, because like when someone asks you a question, right, you think they want the answer, like the true objective one. And that's where you're wrong. They don't want a true objective answer. They want the answer that makes them feel better about themselves. And so they keep asking because they're hoping one person is going to give them the answer that makes them feel better about themselves, right? Either it confirms their bias or it tells them that, they don't have to take accountability for things, or it tells them that, they're good with their life. So in the medical school thing, right?
Hmm.
Well, they always want to be a doctor, but they're just too immature and lazy and lack focus and discipline. That's the answer. But they don't like that answer. So they're going to keep asking until someone tells them that it's all a ripoff, it's all scam, right? Doctors don't know shit anyway, right? You don't even learn anything in those schools know how. They just teach you how to be a feminist. And oh yeah, student loans, they're just, you're going to pay those till you die, and then your kids are going to owe on it, right? Like that's what they're looking for. And they're going to keep asking you until you give them that answer. They're not looking for the real answer, because the real answer just lays it out. Well, yeah, then you're lazy and you're immature, and you lack focus and discipline. Otherwise you would have just went to medical school like everyone else. Otherwise you would have studied hard in college instead of just partying and drinking and flunking out of every class and only taking bird courses. That was your choice. But I'm good at science. Well, then you should have taken some science courses and done well at them, right? Like that's not my fault. What does that have to do with me, right? Like, sorry, you decided to change your major in second year to poli sci because you know bio is just too heavy and interfered with your partying, right? Like that. Whose fault is that? Is that the path to doctorism? Is it their fault or is it your fault? Hmm.
Well,
Just
I don't
saying.
like the answer, so I'm going to another panel,
Yep.
and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to ask a question over there. How about that?
That's the beautiful thing about YouTube, Shar. It is the beautiful and the most destructive thing about social media, right? Is that everyone has the opportunity to be right. Everyone, right? There
Yes.
is no such thing as a wrong thought, wrong feeling, wrong opinion, wrong answer, because you can always just keep changing the channel till you find someone who tells you you are right. That's it. It's sad. That means there's no right answers anymore, right? So, like, I could tell you, for example, right? I could say, hey, listen, because we, all started off as little tadpoles and, the sludge, we all share DNA, like to the point where we share over 60% of our DNA with a banana, right?
Okay.
I could tell you that this is an objective fact, objective, right? But if
Okay.
you don't believe in evolution, and so you don't want to believe that that's true, you can just surf around until you find a channel that tells you that bananas 99.999% have completely different DNA than humans, right? And then there you go. Now you're right and I'm right, right? Like no one needs to be wrong. It's fine. Right? Just keep searching around. Someone will validate your wrong opinion. It's okay.
And then don't forget about the part where you can um, take that information and go to another channel that do not say that and tell them
Mhm.
and
Of course.
argue with them. Isn't that nice? You're wrong. Because over somewhere else, I was talking and we were talking and they were saying and I was saying and we were saying and we both were saying and everybody's saying.
Everybody. And you know what? You know what's great about that? Is that it doesn't even matter, Shar. It doesn't matter if right? Like, let's pretend I am a medical doctor, right? For the purposes of this example. So
Okay.
I'm a medical doctor. Not only did I do all the schooling and whatever, right? But now I'm a high paid, and everyone desires to get my specialty services because I am so good at my job. I've been working in it for 10 years on top of the schooling, right? Now I'm going to tell you about DNA because that's where I work. That is my field of study and specialty, and around the world, people are seeking me out. But Buddy over there, he took an 11th grade biology course, right? And he agrees with you. So therefore, somehow he is right. And me, right, with my 10 years of being a world-renowned professional, I'm wrong because you feel like the other guy's right. That's it,
Feelings.
right? Just feel. It's amazing. That word feelings. Shar, do you remember? It wasn't that long ago. Like when I first got to this space, you were not allowed to bring in your feelings or experiences to the table and say this therefore disproves objective facts. You weren't allowed to do that.
That's
You
right.
could not.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that's why actually that's what drew me to this space because I had so much research and data and statistics and because that's my area in school, right? We work in research.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all of that. So the fact that people not only respected that, but you couldn't just come with your feelings and opinions and that's it. And now you're right because, everyone feels the same way you do. Who cares about the facts? What happened to those days? Right now your feelings and experiences are facts, right? And my facts are just malarkey, right? It's fake news now. Like, God, Trump just ruined the galaxy.
Yeah. Fake news is fake. It's fake.
Right? If I don't like it, it's fake news. If I like it, greatest people ever. Good people on all sides. Yep.
All right. Well, everyone have a clear understanding of where the topic came from. And I'll go ahead and we get warmed up for a few minutes. Well, not a few minutes, about a good 45 seconds. Do a little Friday dance and get the circulation going. We all right with that?
Ready to get my jive on.
All right, here we go.
Look at her. We gon' start this thing around. Groove all in the middle of the night. Come on, come on. You a baby, baby. You a baby, baby. You a baby, I'm living my best life. I'm living my best life. Ain't no big I'm living my best life. Ain't no
Woo! I'm warmed up now. I ain't going back and forth with you people. I'm telling you now.
You know what? I'm telling you, every time I love that kid. Imagine he was your kid or your nephew or your best friend's kid. Wouldn't you be so proud of him? We'd be like, yeah, that's mine. He's mine. He's gonna be the next Michael Jackson. Just y'all wait. Right? Like, I just love that kid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see what the first one. I've just created banners. Those that peep in. And I'll let you go first. This was on the list. Why are Black women so masculine?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Question, right? I mean, I assume we're going to cover it from all angles, but now
From
the
a
question
women
is,
perspective, of course.
of course, from a woman's perspective. But now, are we going to be speaking about when we're talking about masculine? We're talking about the behavior or the looks? Because I've heard both arguments.
Um, let's keep it brief so that way, people want to
Hmm.
join in. They can say a little something, something. They can,
Okay.
yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say it like this, okay? When it comes to the physical, okay, this is a very easy, basic thing. Is black people have stronger, better, i.e., superior musculature. We do, right? Whether you're men or women, we have better musculature, which means our muscles react much more quickly to the little bit of exercise, right? So that means we're going to get muscle tone and definition more quickly than maybe non Black people. That's both men and women, again. Now, if you define having a healthy physique as masculine, well, that's probably just because you don't have a healthy physique. And so it's threatening to you. So that would be my answer for the physical side. Now, on the emotional, whatever side, um, I don't think, this is me, I don't think women are masculine for the most part. I
Hmm.
think a very tiny minority are masculine, very tiny. I've seen it. I can't deny. I haven't seen women who are like, "Yo, if I didn't see you, I would think you were just a dude with a high voice." I
Yeah.
can't say that I haven't seen that. But for the most part, what I found is that anything men don't like in a woman, they just call masculine. And anything dysfunctional that they see in a woman, they call masculine. And then on top of that, right? I mean, not all women, of course, only Black women. And why do
Yes.
they do that to Black women? Because it's all about absorbing the racist narrative against Black people. And they don't even realize that that's what they're buying into, right? Is this narrative about how Black people are just more physical and aggressive. We're like animals, basically, right?
Hmm.
So you don't look at the female dog literally and say, "Oh, well, she's a lot weaker and softer than the male dog," right? Like you don't look at it like that. They're just dogs to you, and they're all equally as vicious and strong.
Right.
And that was the narrative against us, and so we're fighting against that narrative. So as soon as we're angry, right? As soon as we got some dysfunction, as soon as we throw something, right? As soon as we hit somebody, that would be masculine. It's like, well, no, nope, because when white girls do it, you're not calling them masculine. So, okay. So
That's a
that's my
good one.
answer. Hmm.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank you.
Now, I found there were some ladies, some young ladies that were struggling um, raising their children. And let me see. So I'm thinking about some friends of mine. And I did see more aggression because of the frustration,
Hmm.
not having what is necessary because, the child needs to eat every day.
Hmm.
Can't skip Tuesday because, you loan some money out to your boy, or your boy was supposed to give you some money back
Hmm.
that was loaned out.
Right.
And so the woman did have a little attitude. And that was, she was a little aggressive. But that's what is considered masculine from my viewpoint when it comes down to mother.
Mm,
Also, I've seen where a woman might have had some, eh, I'll say she might be a little aggressive because of her neighborhood for her
mhm,
to, have that face on. And I
mhm,
do, and I hear a lot of cities are like that. Um, and New York being one of them, I'm told that is where boy, that is where you got to have your face on because
mhm,
people are, something else. And I've never been to New York, but okay, I'll accept those who come from there and tell me that. And they seem to be a little feisty, but I don't take it as masculine of what, the question that I hear around town.
mhm,
But those are what my examples are.
Yes. And, girl, to be fair, I'm going to give you that one with the aggressiveness because, listen, I think that we have to understand, I agree, some behaviors maybe come with a masculine energy versus a feminine energy, but men and women are made up of all of those energies, right? And if we're going to say that it makes you masculine as a black woman, for example, to be more aggressive and in a defensive type of situation where she's got to defend her kids or defend her own or whatever, right? Then we have to say it about all women. And if we don't, then it's because we recognize that it's not actually masculine, but aggressive. That's a different story. And honestly,
Mhm.
overall, Americans are very aggressive. Now, don't y'all don't hate me, but I'm just telling you. In comparison to Canada, right? America is very aggressive. Like the energy, I always feel like people are about to punch me in the face when I'm speaking to people. And I'm like, but like everyone else is fine with this because it's normal. It's normal to have a constant state of aggression in America, right? So because you kind of need it. Whereas in Canada, it's not normal to have a constant state of aggression, even in a debate or a discussion. People don't have aggression like that unless they mean to fight you. So you got to also look at the greater culture that you're living in, right? You can't compare Canadian girls to American girls and be like, see, Canadian girls are so. No, because we don't live in an overall aggressive culture. So, it would be abnormal if we were aggressive. Yes. Is it abnormal to be aggressive in America where America overall is more aggressive? I don't think so.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
Thank you for your take on that. And I'll welcome to the panel. I have a gentleman and a young lady. Hello,
Ooh.
how are you?
Hi,
I'm
Shar.
fine.
Hello, hello. Good
Hi,
evening.
Ziggy.
Hey,
Hello.
Greetings.
girl.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Now, Leonard was here first, so I'll let him go first. Should I
On
pronounce
the
it
question,
Leonard or Leonard?
yeah, I know you're speaking to me. It's okay.
Okay. I
I'm
just
not that.
wanted to
I'm,
try.
yeah, I understand. I understand. I got you. Um, is it about the question at hand?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Myself, is environmental. This day and age, it's environmental. Depends on, the environment one grew up in. Then another layer of it is you have those that think that don't come from like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. They think, okay, now I'm with the cool kids, because that's just the way we get out. And I'm like, where are you from exactly? You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's a lot of posing and pretending going on. And it's like when I would be talking to people and it would be like, say it's someone that is from Chicago that's, not familiar with me. And we're talking, and I say the neighborhood I'm from, and then, of course, they want to get hood proof. So I start saying things that you can't just Google up about my neighborhood. Well, you don't sound like somebody that's from Inglewood. I'm like, okay, well, thank you. you know,
Mm-hmm.
I moved on and away from that, and that was never, you know, I didn't like that environment anyway. You know what I mean? But the initial thing that sparked off the masculinity. Now, this is just my view on it. I don't think it's been a research or a study, but you have to go back to the Vietnam War when a lot of the men came back, and they came back physically, but they didn't come back mentally, and a lot were on drugs. And the black women had to fend for themselves to raise the daughters, right? And the sons. And that trickled down onto the daughters, and over decades, you have what you have today. I don't need nobody. You got that sisterhood attitude. That's just my take. That's the short version.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And Lady Vonda.
Okay, so the question is, why are Black women so masculine? Well, to be honest, I never thought that Black women were masculine. Um, Maybe there's a reason why that question was pointed out. Um, like Leonard was saying before, it has to do with the environment. If you're speaking about a specific Black woman, find out what her pedigree is, find out where she comes from. If that's really a question, that, people want to know the answer to. There's just no way in hell that, Black women woke up one morning and was like, you know what, it's time for me to be masculine. It's time for me to just, eliminate men and just get rid of
Mhm.
men. There's
Mhm.
no way that just happened in an organic, natural, simple way. It was just like that. There are reasons. For me personally, being raised by my father, I was raised to be able to stand on your own 2 feet because you cannot always depend on another person. May that be a man or a woman. You can't depend on another person. Make sure you have extra money in your purse, so you don't get stranded. Make sure you know how to change a tire. These are not things that, I enjoy doing or want to do as far as changing a tire, but, I'd rather know how to change one than to not. And if I'm to be called masculine because I can change a tire, then I don't care, you know.
Mhm.
But I just never really thought that, Black women per se, in particular, over any other race of woman, was masculine. But do you have, women who, exemplify those traits? Absolutely. And it's going to be based on that woman and where she came from and her environment.
Mhm. If I could just comment really quickly, because and it's something you guys both brought up, which is, well, if you are in a situation, right? So if you're born and raised into a coddled, easy, everybody's there for you, supports you, and loves you, you don't have to do for nothing for yourself kind of scenario, right? Well, then you don't actually have a need to be aggressive at all, whether you're male or female, actually, because you're protected. And actually, you see that in men who are raised that way, right? Is what you call them? They become soft, right? You call them soft. Why? Because they no longer need aggression because everything is just handed to them and they never feel under threat, right? Aggression is something that protects us and that helps to keep us safe. And so, if you have a lot of experiences where the only person keeping you safe is you, and you walking around looking lost and vulnerable is just going to get you used or taken for granted or mark you as prey or something. Well, of course, you're always going to have an aggressive front. That doesn't mean like your internals are aggressive. It's just more that you need to function with this particular energy, right? To keep yourself going, keep yourself safe, and accomplish things given the area, the society, the things you're trying to accomplish, and the situation that you're in. That again, it's not a purely masculine thing to be aggressive, and yet when other women are aggressive, they're not called masculine. You call them mama bears, you call them go-getters, you call them all these other things, right? You call them feisty, right? But when Black women are aggressive, right, well, then the angry Black woman, is she masculine?
It's the end
You
of the
gotta,
world.
right, you
Right.
gotta know it's obviously a bias against a skin tone and not a thing that oh well, it's just Black women act this way. It clearly doesn't line up.
So
But
my question
also,
is it because of it, is it Black women's fault that they've had to adopt the attitude that I, can't really depend on anyone else to do it. I'm going to have to do it myself anyway. That's just the attitude you take. You know, there's not been the luxury to just sit around like, Ruby was saying, just, oh, someone will do it for me. You'll be, you'll grow old sitting around
Mhm.
waiting for someone to do it for you. If you want it done, you're going to need to do it yourself. So, I mean, where did that, come from?
Like I said, it goes back to the Vietnam era when you had the men return and they were home physically, but not psychologically, mentally. They were pretty much broken individuals. And if you throw drug use on top of it, there you go. Now, as of things environmentally, okay, from me growing up in the neighborhood I grew up, if, you know, rare occasion happens that I happen to find myself in a ghetto, I already know how to turn the, bruh, I ain't the one to try. I know how to turn that face on. See, because they'll look at anybody else like they're a tourist sightseer and, oh, we got one. And I'm like, and that's cowardly all the same because it'll not be a one-on-one. It's always a group thing. You know what I mean? That's on the fella side. But
Understandable.
when you have the situation with black women, it's a whole lot of layers to stuff. I mean, like with the environmental stuff, you get the guy that's trying to make his way along in the world. You get more than few black women that are not interested in that type of guy. They want the doggone roughneck and the this and that. Then you get the opposite of that. And some of those guys, they actually get offended. I'm like, bruh, why? Just do you. I mean, you keep going forward with your life, do your thing. Good's gonna come to you, and keep
Can I ask you
looking.
a question?
You can.
You may mention that, the woman, she doesn't want a good guy. She wants the roughneck. How do you determine that? Is that something that the woman actually says, hey, you know what? You're a nice guy. I don't want you nice guy. I'm looking for a roughneck. How do you know what she wants? I'm just curious.
Because a bad boy makes a good girl heart beat faster.
Before we get off on that, because we will get into that, I want to respond to something Vonda said. Let's see if I can remember how to say it. Nope, can't remember. Oh well.
Can,
Go ahead.
can we
And I was
highlight?
trying to make a point earlier, but I forgot when she asked me the question. It what I was gonna say it was a good point, but it escaped me.
It'll come back to you. In the
I hope it
meantime,
does.
it will. Don't worry.
I got sometimes. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't.
Don't worry. Don't we all?
I catch a case of that every now and then too.
Right. If we could highlight Ravenous Oubliette's question, because I just think it's an interesting question.
Okay.
And
I'm on
so
another page. Let me go find them.
all right, I'll read out the meantime. It's
There's
the question
a-
is, does a patriarchal society encourage masculine behavior across the board if you want to advance socially and economically? And I thought it was an interesting question, just because, well, if I think about it, right? Well, let's say your country is, under siege or under war of some sort, right? And you don't have, armies like say America does, where you just have the troops over there and they're fine, right? You're a country that maybe doesn't have that. Well, you would require, right, women and children also to be able to pick up arms and use them, and to think in that, same war mindset that the men are thinking in, right? And to have that, drop that nurturing, caring about all humanity side of them and tap into the protecting us type of mentality. So to an extent, I'm going to say I think it's not so much that you would need to be masculine to advance socially and economically. I think it depends on the particular skill sets of both the men and the women. I think it depends on the position socioeconomically that those men and women already are at. I think it depends on the goal even that happening right now at this moment? What needs to happen right now at this moment? Because there's going to be times where it would be incredibly advantageous for women to be able to fall fully into all of those feminine energy geared things, the nurturing and the this and the that, and making the house a home, and thinking about all those little, details, those nesting details and whatever, and thinking about creating babies and stuff. And then I think there's going to be times where it's more beneficial for women to drop that, and focus more on the cutthroat, kind of mentality. So, I mean, I don't know, but it's kind of, in a way, I think it's tied to what both Vonda and Leonard are saying, as far as, well, what environment did you grow up in? What do you need to accomplish? And what energies do you need to tap into in order to accomplish those things, right? So,
yeah. When you mentioned baby making, that brought the thought back.
Okay. See, told you.
Thank you. Now this is just me talking. There's no scientific study done on this. This is just me talking.
Mm-hmm.
Black women, they need to stay away and stop interacting with these serial baby daddies.
Well, I'm going to kind of move on because we got 3 topics and one other person, and that's going in another direction. Welcome, DeAndre. How are you?
Hey, hi.
Hey, King
Greetings,
Teddy.
Andre.
Hey, I was just here to wake everybody up. Vonda, I heard her clutching that pillow over there, so you got to bring out the pearls since the petty man is here. You know what I'm saying?
Did you want to quickly weigh in on this, or we're going to go to the next
Well,
thing on the
you were talking
docket?
about the patriarchal thing, right? There was a question about the patriarchal.
The Ravius Oubliette one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to bring that back up, Shar?
No, I don't really.
Okay, well,
I would rather he speak about it, because that would be something that he would have to join and explain, because it goes into our opinions, and I don't want to go there.
We can move on to the next topic.
Yes, sir.
Shar's jokes sometimes. You know what? I just want to say we haven't had DeAndre on this panel since he was 39 years old. You know what I mean? Now, he's 40 now. Let's see what his old ass says now. Let's go.
40.
40.
Kids, grandkids, and all that stuff, right? So, this question here is, why do women like bad boys and choose them? Okay, here's the thing, right? Society, it depends on what society that you live in, but society dictates what environment that you're in, what you consider, quote unquote, being a bad boy, or what that is, okay? And it's also your environment. So if you're talking about in the general sense of why do women pick bad boys, is because bad boys inherently challenge the environment.
Thank you.
That's what they do. That's what men are supposed to do, period. Actually, society in itself, other groups of men have made society to the point where the basic things that men provide is protection and provisions are pretty relegated down to, you don't protect anything usually as a man because you call the police. You call other men to protect your shit. Right? And and if we're talking about in a visceral, just straight on raw thing of bare basics, women nest, men provide the nest, or they provide the environment for women to nest. So if that's the case, then a woman naturally, and remember, these are young ladies like they're young men. So they are not indoctrinated into society until we say that they're adults. So they're going off of their social engineering and natural instincts, especially with all of that, puberty with women, more estrogen being pumped, and with young men, it's more testosterone being pumped. And that bad boy behavior that puts out who's the alpha and who comes in line and falls underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is. At the end of the day, a woman's going to be attracted to naturally, not all women, but she's going to be attracted to at a younger age, and even older or whatever she's, whatever it is that she's in, is that if this guy is challenging the environment and he's exuding this masculinity like this, but with me, he's protective in that sense, then I can naturally nest. I don't care how he treats you or anybody else, long as he's protecting and providing for me and perpetually whatever I'm going to procreate in the future. That's it in a nutshell.
I like that. You took all our answers, because that's what us ladies want to say, that we like that.
Well, it's absolutely true, because I was going to say, Shar, Ruby, think about it. If this were the day of the Black Panther, I would truly be attracted to a Black Panther, because they're like going against the system. They're showing their strength, they're protecting the neighborhood. So quote unquote, but that was considered a bad guy, a Black Panther, because they're going against the establishment. So yeah, that was something to look forward to. It wasn't always, a thug or someone, who's selling drugs. It was someone who, exuded, some sort of power, or had some sort of empowerment of his area, and the Black Panthers did, and quote unquote, like I said, they were considered the bad guys, but I definitely would have been attracted to a Black Panther.
Yeah, that was back in the day. Where are they today?
You tell me.
I can't tell you. All I can tell you is about what I see. I see a lot of system buckers that they think is my way or the highway. A lot of them, they're not prepared to deal with society and the world in a manly way, because they come from a home that the mother raised the daughter to be independent and sustaining on her own. They love the son into doggone dependency on a woman. And they're looking for what they're going to get from mama from a woman. And that's not how you do it. You're supposed to be the one that brings the collection and provide the protection. That's your job. Okay.
Which
as a
one?
man, that's your job.
Okay, so let me.
You're supposed to protect the household. You're supposed to provide. Okay. You're supposed to discipline the children. Now, that don't mean pulling your belt off and beating the hell out of them. You, as that man, should be able to walk in the room like when I was a child and somebody's father came home from work, because I come up in the era of the two-parent home era, not this era of today. And we would be doing our thing, whatever, our Hot Wheel cars, we just doing what we do, being boys. Dad comes in, got on his hard hat and his boots, walks through the door, don't even close the door, just looks around the room, and we make a command decision. Let's go play in the backyard. You know what I'm saying? That man's presence alone tightened up the whole house. So it wasn't that he was threatening, but it's like, well, you know what I mean?
Well, let me say this right here, right? And see, here's a misconception, right? That a lot of times we say certain things and then we make good points, but then we don't look at the whole picture of a lot of things. So let me say this, right? You grew up in a two-parent household. Did both of your parents work?
Are you asking questions or?
Yes, I'm asking everybody. So if it's everybody.
Oh, okay. In my era, the father worked. The mother work was the house and the children, which I've watched my grandchildren. And trust me, that's a job and a half. Women can have that one. I went on vacation, visited for a week, and came back and slept for a week. Them kids wore me out.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, anybody else? Did both of your parents work, or I'm asking this. I'll answer the question after everybody else is asked.
Yeah, both my parents worked.
Yeah.
Ultimately, my parents separated before I can remember them being together.
Mm,
But even after I think it was my first year or whatever, however long, the concept of mat leave would have lasted, my mom would have went back to work. And on top of that, both my parents worked and went to school. My mom, actually, both my parents had a job, a part-time job, and went to school part-time. So, yeah. My parents were like teen parents.
yeah.
So let's call that out in the 80s. My parents were teen parents. My mom, my dad's a couple years older, so he might have hit 20 by then. But yeah, my parents were teen parents. They were very young. So they both worked two jobs. They both, went to school, and they were both 100% responsible for every damn thing inside of the house, cooking, cleaning, laundry, whatever. And they were like that when they were together. And obviously, once they were single parents, they were more so like that. So,
Okay.
And my
Yeah.
dad
Well, in my
worked.
in my case, my parents migrated north during the Great Migration north from the Jim Crow South. My
Mm-hmm.
father worked. My mother maintained the household with the 5 children. My
Mm-hmm.
father passed away when I was 3. The house was paid for, and what was made of the insurance money, she converted the basement into a finished basement, and she had like 3 elderly people that she maintained, which they paid good money. They still pay good money for people that do that today, like in home, whatever they call it today. And she built that money up, and then she bought a dry cleaner business
Mm.
and did that up until she died.
Up until she died. So basically, at one point in time, right? Both of your parents worked at one point in time. Is
Yeah,
this
he worked the job, and her work was the house. And trust and believe, like I said, after I spent time with my grandchildren, spending time with children, that's a job. That's a job all its own.
all its own? Okay, so
You got to be a referee. You got to be a doggone disciplinarian. You have to be a mediator. You have to, woo. I'm like, I have 100% total respect for women doing that job because
right,
it can be overwhelming.
overwhelming. So Vonda, if you will, it's up to you if you want to answer the question or not. Because But did both of your parents work?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So I think Shar said her dad worked and
Yes.
stuff like that. Okay. So my mom worked. I didn't know my dad like that. He had a job. My stepfather worked. All of my aunts and uncles that are married, even if they got divorced or they're married, they're still married, they worked. Right? So now, if you're putting in, 10, 12-hour days, shifts, doing overtime, fighting for the American dream, and I'm just saying people in general, right? Um, and we're talking about, I'm an 80s baby, right? So that means that both parents had to work because the way the economy was, one parent couldn't just work. Like the brother said that his dad worked. He passed at 3. He had enough insurance money, everything else like that, where the mom could retrofit the basement, bring in some more income. She opened a dry cleaning business and kept everything going up until she passed away, providing for the kids after the father left. That means wealth was passed down in his death, because that's how wealth is passed down. Most people get majority of their wealth when people die. What I'm
mm-hmm.
saying is this: if he's saying that it's just in a one parent working household at the economy at the time when he was young, that a woman herself managing the household, being a referee, being a caretaker for the children and all of that, the man himself, working, providing, coming home, you know what I mean, and laying down some discipline and all of that stuff like that. And then now that both parents are out of the home for multitude of the day and they're out there working, who the hell are raising these children? Oh,
They're called latchkey children.
well, before that even happened, right? Right, because that didn't happen until almost the '90s, right? Because I'm part of that generation, right?
Mhm.
We
Right?
went to our grandmother's house. Our aunts and uncles. It was still a village thing where the village raised the children. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like you said, you were over your friend's house playing with your toys, but if their father came home, hey, we got to go because dad had a hard day at work. Y'all already knew because you were already taught. The first teachers of children are usually women, right? But they have to be in the nest to teach the children. And if they're outside of the nest, providing for the nest, who makes the environment that way? Men do.
Okay. Well, I can speak from personal experience as of one feeling entitled for no reason at all. I mean, when I was married,
Mm-hmm.
soon as she said I do, she went from punching a clock to a housewife because I made enough money to provide that lifestyle.
Of course.
Mhm.
And upon my exit of the military,
Mm-hmm.
different things started happening with her. I'm like, okay, I got this plan laid out for us to continue on. It's going to be a slight lull in this, but we could work together, get through this hump, and then things go back to what they were. And
Mm-hmm.
she was just not down with that at all. And I'm going back to my mother. I'm like, well, okay, then fine. I'll pay the lawyer and do everything that needs to be done. Uh, it was nice, and I don't hate the woman or anything, and I hope she landed on her feet. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I hope that she
Mhm.
landed on her feet. So, but I made more than enough to, you know, to provide. I mean, walked
Of
in with a
course.
$500 a month car note for a brand new car. The money was always there, and some people, they mistake the military. They think that people in the military are not actually making nice money.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, they
There's
make
people
a
in
lot
the
of money.
military making doggone good money. But, sometimes people get complacent in their situation and they think they're deserving of more or whatever. And they, uh, what's the term I could call it? Not self destruct, self sabotage. They
Mhm.
sabotage their own happiness.
Well,
Well, if I could add my point, this kind of flows into it now. So I think here's the thing: men and women are obviously different. We evolved differently. Our brains prioritize things differently. We want and need different things ultimately to feel fulfilled, right? So, for example, right, and all the research proves this: if you take age match counterparts, and when I say counterparts, it means they're lined up. They basically do the exact same things. All of their stats are the same. The only thing that's different between them is one is married and one is not. The married men are 40% more successful than the unmarried men. And that's whether it be financially, as far as earnings, as far as promotions, as far as everything, even their social clout, 40% more successful on average. Okay. That is whether they are happy in the marriage or miserable in a marriage. But the same does not hold true for women. Women have to be happy in their marriages to be 40% more successful in them. So when men, right, and I'm not saying this directly about your case. I don't know it well enough to say anything about it, but it just
Right.
reminded me of
I'm
this
not even taking
subject.
it personal. I'm
Okay,
not
good.
taking it personal either. No,
Perfect.
never that.
Perfect. Okay. Right. So the thing is, right, is that a lot of times men will not understand that a particular woman might not have been made for the particular marriage that, y'all have set up. And this is why I always say it to men. Men need to discover who they are, right? And set that, hey, listen, I'm leading myself this way. You want to jump on this train or not? The problem is women also have to figure out who they are because they have to pick the right train to jump on, right? Like I couldn't be a military wife. Because I personally I flourish when I'm in a relationship, right? Not a long distance one, not one where you leave for months or years at a time, but one where you are here all day, every day, right? Like I am better in that. I would not be happy with my spouse leaving for weeks or months at a time. So it's not just military, it's just any job that involves a lot of traveling. That wouldn't make me happy. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really prioritize money like that. I've never been a big respecter of money in persons like that. So, but also it wouldn't make me happy to have a beautiful house and all these expensive things and whatever. And I never see my husband because he's never damn home because he's always working. And so, my priorities and what I was looking for in a man line up with what it is that I actually need as a woman to feel fulfilled and to feel secure. Now, I will say that on top of the things that people brought up, there are a couple of things they don't think about. One, when it comes to why women or normal young women choose bad boys, right? It's their availability, right? Because the bad boy isn't busy at school. He's not busy at anything, right? He's normally pretty damn
You know
free.
that
So,
goes on this one point.
mhm.
I would tell women, if you want a good man that's out doing what you say a good man does, this and that, if you want a good one, expect to have a busy one.
Well, no, but I disagree with that, right? Because what is your definition of good? Right. And now, and that goes back to what I was
Oh,
saying earlier. Women need to figure out who they are, what their priorities are, and what they want to need from a man. Because to me, a busy man cannot fulfill my parameters for what a great husband and father is going to be because he's not available enough to do either of those things. Do I think those are bad men? No. Right? I think good
Mhm.
man can be lots of different things. Now, as I was saying, going back to the bad boys and why women choose them thing, remember, we all now have been socialized to respect, in fact, even worship these imaginary pieces of paper called money, but we didn't evolve to care about these imaginary pieces of paper, right? They did not exist. We stopped evolving 10,000 years ago, right? So, what then, when women are looking at men and evaluating them, right? If we're falling on our base instincts, we are looking at men who have social clout and respect in the environment. Why? Because that means other men are going to respect them and therefore respect their household, which means respecting you, which means protecting you even when they're not present, amongst other things. Social clout is going to get you the things that you need, right? And that him having that social clout means that he's got the skills and the power to measure up to and above many men, right? So, I guess they use that concept, the alpha concept, they use it wrongly, but that's in essence what women are looking at. So when you have the bad boy, right? When you're saying challenging the environment, well, we evolved to care about certain things, right? The man who's going to fix the cupboard and mow the lawn, and he's strong enough he could lift you up when you sprain your ankle and carry you 100 feet. Like those things are what we evolved to appreciate and to look at a man and say, yeah, that's a man, right? Now, if you are a multimillionaire, you can afford to pay to have all that taken care of for you, right? And if you are good in your socialization, then you'll be like, well, as long as I can pay for it, it's fine. But our basic instinct is not to respect your ability to pay for it. Our basic instinct is to respect your ability to take care of it yourself, for you to be able to take those man hands and that man and those man arms and take care of stuff, the physical stuff. And the bad boy can do that. Okay. The bad boy is not sitting there scared of stuff. But people like to bring up the chaos of the bad boy, right? It's the guns and the drugs and this and that. Well, I just want to bring up other types of chaos, right? Because you have other types of chaos and they become school shooters, amongst other things, right? They are chaotic. They don't fall in line with, the popular culture. They buck the system. But
Mhm.
yet they don't get the women, right? They don't get the what? Well, why? Because their physicality, all that man stuff I'm talking about, they don't excel at that, right? They excel at using their brains, maybe, or maybe their poetry is great or acting. I don't know. But the point is that the things that women are looking for, right? Young girls are looking at what we're programmed to be attracted to when our hormones are flooding us. And so common sense is the last thing driving our decision making, right? We're looking for manliness. So even when you're like 14, 15, a guy who can develop muscles, he's got an 8 pack is about enough, right? Because we're young. So the fact that he's got muscles and that one doesn't, well, he's probably stronger. You know, the one who was playing basketball with her, well, he's probably stronger. He's dominating the court. He's getting lots of respect. If I'm his girl, I will get that respect. Right? If I'm his girl, he'll be able to defend me if anyone comes to hurt me, to harm me, to take my stuff away from me. Right? So we have to remember, right, that a lot of times we're talking about women choosing bad boys. We're talking about young women. And when we're talking about the string of bad boys, as you were saying, we're normally talking about women who were born and raised into scarcity, poverty, danger, as far as gangs and drugs and, you know, killings and whatever around them. So in that case, what are you going to prioritize? Well, you might say common sense would be prioritize the money so you can buy your way out of the hood. But, you know, in a way, it's kind of like you're in like a glass prison. When you're in the hood, you're kind of programmed to think you can never get out of it. So given you can never get out of it, what's your best bet? You get the bad boy. You get the strongest one. You get the one who has got the clout in the streets. You get the one who could defend you. You get the one who pulls so much respect that his boys will defend you, right? You get the one that can make sure that you're never going hungry, right? So you're looking at a different set of priorities, and I think that we want to like kind of villainize these women instead of looking at the reality behind it and realize they're not really villains. They're kind of making probably a decent choice when you're looking at what factors they're using.
A lot of
Well,
times,
I'm
men are
glad
not.
that you applied that to ghetto life and that scenario thereof.
Mm,
A
okay.
lot of men are not. They're just, as you mentioned, Ruby. They're just looking at the fact that that woman that is attractive, desirable, picked that one,
Hmm.
and they're comparing. Like, but wait a minute, why him?
Right.
And okay, but when we answer the question, which they don't like the answer,
Nope.
that's what's desirable to us.
Right.
You have to well,
Yeah.
you don't have to excite.
Well, I'm
And
gonna
me, I personally, I have no problem with any of that because it's, particular type of women that spark my interest, and none of which are the ghetto types. So,
well,
Well, we're older now, so yeah.
yeah. I'm like, but even
yeah, I
still,
mean
like,
that didn't spark my interest back then. I was doggone doing all I can to find what is the best opportunity that I could find to get the hell out of here and not come back. And I found it and utilized it, and that's it. You know,
you know, here's the thing about it, right? And we like to quantify things upon our perception and experiences to a certain degree, but that does not mean that quantification is the absolute and utter truth. And what it means is this:
Hmm.
being a person that came from that ghetto life, myself, born and raised in Baltimore, and I did the same thing that you did. I joined the military and I got the hell on, right? But I did not get married until I got out of the military. And you know why? Because it wasn't the ghetto women that wanted the bad boys. It was me walking into the bar, seeing my '01, '02, '03's wife out there dropping it like it's hot on the bar table
Hmm.
with the lower listed bad boys that they was getting their rocks off on. So it did not matter, ghetto or not. It's all about the perception of what it is and the raw nature. If that was the case, then Prison Bay wouldn't be with the Heiress of Top Shop.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like it has nothing to do with that per se. Like I have rough edges because that's where I came from. I what I mean, my wife, she's like parents got dumb money, but she married me, right? In essence, I'm a bad boy, in essence. But I know when to use it, when not to use it, when to move, when to do this and that, because I came from that area. At the end of the day, it's a woman's nature if she's into her own nature to understand, even if the guy's quiet, right? She even tests to see if something hits the fan, is he going to protect and provide, to the point where that he will literally break a man in half to protect me and I. That's what it all amounts down to. And the problem in society is, as men, as we make the rules in society, as a genotype, right, is that we're so civilized that we think that the natural state of people goes somewhere, and it doesn't. We just quantified in different areas. Like, we're so civilized, but why do we like to watch two men punch each other in the face
Mhm.
for 12 rounds? Right?
Since the dawn of time, we're more civilized now because we used to do that shit to the death, right? Gladiators and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, but those people, like a guy punching another guy in the face makes more money than a guy building something. But that's always been that since civilization. We just move the goalposts in the optics of it. So it's not just, okay, if you're only in proximity of people in the ghetto life, then let's look at people that have money and come from means. Never been in the ghetto. Can't get much bad boy than Trump. He said what he wanted, he did what he wanted, and dared you to do anything about it.
But you know what though? Like, okay, even when what part of a woman's cycle she is on will determine who she finds the most attractive. And like they've literally done the studies on this. So when a woman is in her infertile period, the man who provides, as far as like say like he can provide the finer things or the softer things, he will just like take care of you, he'll make sure you know you never go hungry, that's attractive enough. But when you're in your fertile period, you find that don't give a shit, will beat another dude up, you know, might not be about shit, but he's got very strong genes, which present, yes, in your looks as far as your symmetry and, you know, your body build, and how your muscles literally sit on your body and your frame, your height, all of those things, right? She will find that guy almost irresistible during her, you know, fertile window every month, right? And the reason why she finds him more attractive, you have to remember, right? The reason why we find people attractive is because those features tell us that they have very strong genes, and therefore if we were to mate with them and create babies with them, that we would create genetically superior offspring, the best possible case scenario. So therefore women's species, it doesn't even matter whether it's humans, right? Because birds do it, a whole bunch of other species do this, right? They might be with a provider male, right? But then they might get with the one who's genetically superior while they're fertile, and then oops, got pregnant, and it's the provider males, quote unquote. And there's a trade-off there, because the provider male we're talking about is not normally like an 8 or a 9, as far as his looks and his, you know, genetic makeup, right? But maybe he makes enough money to make her a little comfortable, and so it's cool. And really, he knows there's a trade-off there. She's like a 7, 8, 9, and he's like a 4 or 5. He knows there's a trade-off. He knows there's a chance he might be taking care of some children that aren't his. But the thing is he knows he's going to get genetically superior children by making children with her. And there's a trade-off there, because that means your offspring are going to be more successful than if you had gotten the woman who would be faithful to you, but she's a 3 or 4. And I mean, like, this is the thing. We are always subconsciously, whether you realize it or not, making these trade-off decisions constantly, because we understand what the world is, right? People say it all the time. They'll get with a 9 or a 10, a woman, right? And they understand it's just their turn. And yet they will lavish her with the great lifestyle so their turn can last longer, right? Women know a 9 or a 10, that's the dude who's going to sleep with you and give you beautiful babies and take care of none of them, right? But again, it's your turn to sleep with the beautiful specimen, right? We understand this inherently. So, like, for us to act like we don't understand why women choose bad boys and why dudes choose the super hot 10 dime girls, like, we know why. Like, let's stop getting in our feelings about it.
No, you have the selfish
Well, I
gene. That's
must
all
I
it
must
is.
be a very I must be a anomaly different type of guy. I
You
I
are.
I must be because when I was looking towards children, right?
Mhm.
There's only certain type of women that I dated, right? Whereas we have a child, they're going to be more on my, I don't have the word for it, but it would definitely not be doggone Shaniqua with the banging body in the hood and all of that. And it's like, no, I basically would date, you know, plain Janes that were on the intellectual side. And I mean, it paid off in the end because my son, he ended up at the age he's at now, he's doing a whole lot better than his mom and I were doing financially when, we were married, back in the day. And he's a larger, much larger version of myself. I look at him sometimes and I'd be like, how that the hell, you like 70 pounds heavier than me. How did that happen? And he ain't fat. I mean, I don't know if you can still say the F word on YouTube, but it's not that. I mean, he followed in my footsteps, joined the military, did all this great stuff. Uh, Supposed to have went to 75th Ranger Regiment, but he ended up getting hurt, and that ended his military career. But I was like, okay. But even like what the guy said, he's from Baltimore, joined the military. That would, in conjunction with what the young lady was saying on here, women, if you're overseas, right, and they know, okay, these guys are infantry, they would be drawn to us, because it's like, oh, we know they do all this rough, tough, this and that, and all this stuff. And you would have like people that were like in supply and stuff like that, clerical specialists. It's like, man, what's up with the chicks? It's like, man, we combat engineers. It's what I'm saying. As soon as they see us, it's like, oh, that's them boys. And it fits into the all of it. It fits in, but I did a different type of picking. It's someone that was more so on the level of bring home the mother. Although my mother, she had passed away, years before I ended up getting married and all of that. But even with that, that's chose her. Okay, we had a child together. Now, the marriage didn't work out. Hey, things happen. But you know, I didn't have any more children, you know, after him. Now, had I met someone else that was on that same wavelength that I was on, could have got, remarried, and he would have had some brothers and sisters. However, the doggone chromosomes went on my side of the fence, but that just didn't pan out. But he's man, he's great. I just look at him sometimes and I just be sitting there like, it's
Okay.
almost a little bit of jealousy. Like, boy, if I would have had a father like me to guide me through my whole life, maybe I would have turned out as great as you, and you would have turned out greater. Because this man thing, all this man stuff, I had to figure it out on my own, basically. I mean, I had older brothers, but hell, they had families and they were busy. They were Chicago police officers, so you already know
Mhm.
that's family time. You forget about it. You know what I mean? So I had to, figure out the man stuff on my own, and I did, and it worked. I'm glad that I did, but I would not date women when I didn't have a child. I would not date women with children. And even like afterwards, it's like, okay, if I was to meet a woman, she has children, okay. So what happened? The marriage didn't work out. No, it's just I got a baby by this guy, and then that he ain't this, and I'm like, okay, I'm not even gonna mess with that, right? I could respect. We were married. I have 3 children. It didn't work out. We did try. I can respect that, but people that are like haphazardly having children, that just don't fit my. It just doesn't fit me as an individual. Now,
Yeah, but
nothing
there's a
against
difference
those,
between there's a
nothing against those that do. If that's how they want to do their life, then do your life.
no, I
But
get
it
that, but
just
there's a
doesn't fit
difference,
in with
sir,
mine.
between there's a difference between dating 8, 9s, and 10s and the dating 7s and under, right?
Well,
And I
I
made
don't
that
know about
clear.
the, I don't know about the numerals of the dating
Well,
standard.
as in,
I've been
no,
hearing
you
and
do,
learning a lot about it on YouTube. So
right?
because I've
10
been
is
learning.
perfection. 10 is perfection. 9
Well,
is damn near
what is
perfect, right?
okay? What is perfection? Could you explain perfection to me?
Oh,
Physical perfection, a literal physical goddess of perfection. Okay, so there's a
Okay,
difference
that's
between dating the average cute, or is she pretty? Yeah, she
oh,
beautiful, right? There's a difference
oh,
between dating a normal woman and then dating the goddess of all perfection. And I'm
okay.
sure you dated
Could you give
perfectly
me some
beautiful, sweet women. No, no, no. We're not going to go
examples?
down. No, we're not going to go down this whole road. But because you understand inherently, there is a
No,
difference.
I don't understand inherently. That's why I'm asking. Explain it
You
to me
don't
as if I'm a
understand
5-year-old.
inherently. You don't understand inherently that some women are more attractive than others. You don't
I
understand that
do
inherently.
understand that some. Okay,
Okay.
hold on for 1 minute. May I speak?
Hmm. Go ahead.
There are some women that are more attractive than other women. This is true, but you also have to account in who finds what attractive.
Right. But still, sir, and here's the thing, we can actually, because there's a science that explains why it is that we find certain things attractive, right? So, for example, we think symmetry in a face elevates someone to being more beautiful. The reason why we think that actually it has to do with, again, the strength of your genes. So if you have very strong genes that are impervious, or are very strong, so they can fight against disease and infection when you're a kid, right, then you will have more face symmetry than if you had weaker genes and you were very sickly as a kid. Okay. Or for example, a woman who has a good waist to hip ratio, it means she's more likely to survive giving birth and to provide you living children than someone who has very narrow hips. So overall, the things that we actually find attractive, right, objectively attractive, not just, there's also these little surface differences, some like dark skin, some like light skin. No, I'm talking about objective beauty, and they've actually calculated, you can look it up, right? The golden ratio. So you can look up, according to the golden ratio, objectively who the most beautiful women in the world are. You can Google that right now. It literally does
Okay,
exist, right? And
I wrote down the golden ratio. I'm gonna have to read up
yes,
on it because
yeah.
I'm not I'm kind of lost. It's like I would from this is now let me give you what I'm understanding as of the whatever.
Mm-hmm,
Um just given with different people, like some would see what Beyonce, she's a 10.
mm-hmm.
Uh I don't know who to put out there and say she's a 1.
But can I explain to you why it doesn't matter? Because the whole point is not whether or not someone else thinks your wife is a 10. It's not.
But
It's
see
all about,
that
hold on,
I already
hold
pointed
on.
that out to you. I'm
But no,
different.
hold on. Let me explain something to you, because this is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about, when I say you probably dated the 5, 6, 7s, maybe the 8s, maybe, right? Because most people, when they're looking for a wife, are not looking for the women that they think are like sex kitten bombshells, right? That's like, during your kind of sexy phase, and then you go to the looking for a wife phase, and then you understand that the super sex kitten bombshell to you is not as important as some of these more intrinsic or internal factors. And so you're willing to compromise on the looks. What I'm saying is there's a good chance, it's not about what I thought about the women that you were dating when you were looking for wives, right? I'm talking about you. I'm saying your objective evaluation of the woman that you chose. If you objectively choose a woman that to you is a 10, you understand that there's a trade-off by choosing the woman that to you is a 10. Okay? And everyone understands that there's an objective trade-off to these things. If I choose a man, objectively to me is a 10. Right? Like you could look at him, everyone else thinks he's attractive. To me, he's perfect. I'm going to sit there, marry this guy, but I understand there's probably going to be a trade-off, one of which is infidelity. He's probably not going to be sexually faithful to me, but I'm choosing to accept that trade-off anyway because he is just so damn gorgeous, and at least he comes home to me every night, and all my children are going to have these superior genetics, especially if he also maybe, and this ties into the next subject coming up, he also makes a lot of money, right? And so I understand inherently that there's a trade-off, and I'm willing to give into that trade-off. I am willing to let the guy who's a 10, right, objectively, both physically, mentally, emotionally, he's a 10 in every single way. He is perfect, and on top of that, he makes $500,000 a year. I am willing to let that man cheat on me, and I will stay with him knowingly knowing he's cheating on me. But I wouldn't let the guy who I think is a 5 cheat on me, right? We all make these trade-offs. That's what it comes down to. And it's about what we evaluate the person that's standing in front of us as, not what other people do. Unless you're a very insecure person and you have no self-concept, and so the only judgments you make about people is based on what your friends think about them, right? So that's the whole point. That's
it.
Okay.
Well, the next topic on the docket is, do all women really want a high value man? No. Next.
Yeah, no.
I agree. I don't think that all women want a high value man. I think the argument with the high value man is that a man telling a woman, you can't get a high value man or you don't deserve to have one. I think that's where the problem is. Don't tell a woman what she deserves or what you think she can get, especially if you aren't that, which what she's looking for. You know, if you're not even a high value man yourself, don't be the one sitting up there telling women what they can't get and what they don't deserve. I think that's the problem.
That's you know, here's the thing, and you know, and then you would flip that question on its head. You know, that's why the women should answer that question, because a man really, he can't really answer that question. You know, I mean, other than observation, because you're not a woman. So I'm glad the ladies answer that. So I would flip that question on the head. Do all men want a high maintenance woman, like a 10? See, that's another. We don't have that question, right?
Nope. Well, that's because they say yes. And this is the problem, is that there's this lie going around, right? That all men, right, want only the 8s, 9s, and 10s of the world. And then, but then on top of that, right, they understand the 8s, 9s, and 10s of the world normally don't belong to anybody, but they want those 8, 9s, and 10s, and they want those women to think like 3s and 4s, right, and be their wives. And other than that, they're not getting married because no woman deserves them with their $40,000 a year and their, you know, rented house.
Well, yeah. And that's what I mean is like, okay, and I'm gonna say this as a man, right? We have 2 brains, so just like women, right? You know, the genes and the thing, right? Okay, just like women, it's like, that's like asking a man, would you want to drive a Ferrari? Yeah. Would you want to drive a Lamborghini? Hell yeah. Would you want to pay the maintenance costs for Lamborghini and Ferrari? Hell no. Hell no, right? Can you drive a Lamborghini like for 300 miles consistently? No, you can, but you would have to stop and put gas in it, right? You would have to do all of these things to it, right? You're not going to drive it as much, right? You're not
the maintenance and upkeep.
The maintenance and the upkeep is not worth it, right? Unless you're that rich. And most people that are rich lease with the option to buy. So technically, if you're dealing with a high maintenance woman, which is usually a 9 or 10, right? You need to lease with the option to buy, but never buy it. Because at the end of the day, right, it's more trouble than what it's worth, right? It lost its value once you purchased it completely and utterly. It did. Like and that's the thing, right? There's certain things that the high maintenance women are not good at, right? Or they're not as well versed in it as a 8.5 to down to a 4. And that is the reason why you wanted her in the first place. For her to lay down in the bed with the lights off and do all types of diabolical stuff. This is the time when Vonda grabs her pearls. But this is no, but for real, that's a true thing, right? Like we don't talk about it on the other end of the spectrum, right? Is men like high maintenance women. Let's look at PJ Washington for example, right? Yes, she groomed him. Yes, she ran his pockets. Now she says it's stepdaddy season. She's a whole thought out there, hard body. But guess what? She's a high maintenance woman, right? Because she's dealing in a different circle. Now, you would think this young man would learn his lesson. No, he jumps right back into the 9 or the 10 fucking carousel of Russian roulette at the casino, right? And he gets him another Instagram model that's a high maintenance woman. He gets him another one. Now she's going to play the game better than her because she's going to secure, because old girl, they were married. So she's going to play it long term. She might leave him after 2 or 3 kids. Girl, you only got 20K. You messed up. You can't, if you would have waited long enough, you can't even get alimony from him because you wasn't married for more than a year, right? You're not going to get anything. And you just was stupid and went online and told everybody your plan. So you're not going to get any alimony. You're just going to get child support. I'm going to get alimony. I'm going to get child support. I'm going to run in pocket because he's stupid, right? But the thing is he wants the high maintenance. All men want the high maintenance woman, but they don't want to pay the maintenance for the high maintenance woman. They don't want to deal with all of that, right? Because you got to be there. Like it's this weird thing. I got to be able to make this money to provide for her lifestyle, but I also got to be there emotionally and physically, right? And last time I checked, most men can't duplicate themselves.
True.
So then you make, if you're smart and you know you didn't put yourself in a bad position, you say, you know what? Let me get like a nice 8. I take an 8. 7.5 or 8, I'm good, right? Because that means that there has to be some love there, right? Now, love on her end of the spectrum, because when women love men, they'll put up with a lot of dumb shit. So they'll put up with a lot of understanding. They'll hold things tight. They'll put things together, but you have to reciprocate that as a man. Like you have to reciprocate that as a man. You have to put in the work and the time, right? And this is why, you know, see, I was in the Navy, right? So I guess the gentleman here, he was in the Army, right? I definitely want to get married.
Very, very different.
Very different, right? But see, here's the thing, right? The Navy's got the highest divorce rates up in all the military, straight off, right? And the real reason why they have the highest divorce rates is because of this, right? So I can speak from my perception of what I saw, but maybe I can talk a little bit on what he was saying, the thing when he got out and his military career was over with. The thing is that when he was in the military, I don't know when he got out, but we just finished being at war.
2016.
2016. So we were still at war, right? So if you were in the military and the Army, you got deployed pretty much on the regular, right?
Yeah, 4 deployments.
Forward deployments, right? So I was in the Navy. I was forward deployed. I was stationed in Japan. So you're deployed to be deployed. You're already deployed. Like you're forward deployed. Like you're just deployed, right? So what I saw was this: people that got married in the military that were in that deployment stage, they were always stuck in this weird honeymoonish phase. And the honeymoonish phase is this: you're gone for 6 months to 9 months, maybe a year. You come back, right? Baby, I miss you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo, woo, woo. All this, everything's great. You're doing all of this stuff. And right when the relationship in the marriage needs to actually be worked out, right? And people that's been married, they know this. It's that year when you have that drag out fight that's going to basically perpetuate what the marriage is going to be. And if you're not there every day to work through it, where you hit that fight and you're suddenly gone because of work, that fight didn't go away, but it subsided. And then y'all go back into to we miss each other. And then there's that everything's getting paid, right? You don't gotta pay lights, water, and gas because the government's paying it for you. If you live it on post, you don't pay that. You don't pay health care. You don't pay all these other things. You don't pay those things. And then you're thrust, depending on your spouse's rank, you are somebody. I'm the wife of 08 such and
yeah,
such.
don't they have that bad? They think they're
Yeah.
actually in the military, and it's like, go sit over there,
But
way over there on the benches, and take this handbook.
but that comes down to it. The man has provided not only protection, like Ruby said, but prestige. Now this is a whole different ballgame because he's a high value man because he has value, right? Like he's like when she goes home, there's men there that are protecting the perimeter with guns and tanks, and then they look at that ID and then they see that she's married to an officer or a high-ranking enlisted, and they say "Good day, ma'am," or "Good morning, ma'am," or she's a officer's wife, or she's a higher enlisted's wife, and you got to straighten up automatically, right? And then they wear that with pride and stuff like that. But one day that goes away. But then you don't have that pride anymore. He has that because he's retired such and such, but she doesn't get that. She doesn't get those fringe benefits. She doesn't get the head of the line privileges on the job application because she's a military spouse. She's a triple minority, right? She doesn't get that, right? And then what happens is it's all pulled away. And women, when they're in an environment, they nest in it, whether it's functional or dysfunctional. And if you want to change that automatically and you haven't worked on building that because of your absence, no matter if you were providing, guess what happens? She wants to keep it, or she'd rather do bad by a damn self because it's a difference of mentality, right? So now I decided when I watched this, and I'm gonna say black people, right? Because mainly it was the white folk that were getting divorced. It wasn't the black folk that was getting divorced as much. It was the white people that was doing it the most. And when I watched that, and I said, you know what?
Interesting.
I don't want to do that because I'm not home. And I know that the woman that has my children that I'm going to marry and all of this other stuff, if I want to keep my family together, I have to be there and I have to work it out and I have to have a regular job. I cannot be rape, pillage, and plunder. I can't be world traveling, hitting these different places. Yes, it's providing money, but I have to make a conscious decision as a man. If I'm not going to get some type of what we call it shore duty, where I'm there, I go to work, I come home every day, and I establish that. And if that's not happening, I have to leave. I have to get out and I have to leave so I can concentrate on raising my family and being a regular person. Just being a regular person, right? But we worked on that. We went through our ups, downs, and whatever, and sideways, but we worked on that. And if you don't work on that, that's why you see a lot of guys with multiple divorces in the military, or guys that make a substantial amount of money still single or have been divorced if they didn't put in the work in the foundation of being there at ground zero, picking the right mate, picking the right woman. Ruby is very forthright and honest. She said she needs certain things. She can't be a military wife.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women are not that. A lot of women, and I'm
Right.
talking,
And
about the military
I
aspect. A lot of
I
women
can
don't
fully respect
realize
that.
that, understand that because they don't know. They haven't come to that point. But a lot of men don't understand that either. And they don't pick the right woman to settle down with or whatever because they finally get to that point of, I can get this 10 because I have the provisions and
Mm-hmm.
everything else to go with it. But I don't have I don't have the requisite skills for the maintenance of the Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
They need a Toyota. They need a Honda. They need a mean Bronco.
Right.
Thank you
Right.
for that. That was
And oh,
interesting.
mhm.
They need a mean Bronco.
Um, so, I will say this because, obviously y'all know I don't want a high value man. I explained that in a previous answer. But I think the thing is that this idea that women all want a high value man, we're failing to even evaluate the context under which women are saying, I want a high value man. And it was being questioned, and then because people didn't like the answer they were getting, because it didn't support the narrative, they stopped asking. But even when they were asking the question, what you found out was this: is it's the same romanticizing, fantastical thing that we do to everything, including other cultures and whatever. Is there is women will go through bad situations, okay, with men, and obviously, it's the men that are in their periphery and they are somewhere between middle class to lower class. Okay. And then they watch a lot of TV and they get on social media. And that tells them that these women who have these rich husbands, right, are super happy. They don't have to go through all the bullshit that all of these other women do, right? Because they're super happy and they're super fulfilled and this and that. And so they say they want a high value man, because what high value man stands for to them, it's not about the money and the riches and the this and the that. Although we'll get back to that in a second. It's about all the other qualities they think come with high value men. Right? He will be faithful. He will be loyal. He'll be devoted. He'll be this. He'll be thoughtful. He'll be this. Right? And so they associate all these things have nothing to do with being super high paid and whatever, but they think if they get a high value man, it'll give them that. The second thing are women, by and large these days, honestly don't believe that men can be faithful, men can be honest, men can be this, men can be that. Basically, in essence, is the concept of all men ain't shit, right? And so they think this: well, if all men ain't shit, and so they're all going to keep breaking your heart, and they're all going to deceive you, and they're all going to betray you, and they're all going to this, and they're all going to that, well, then I might as well get paid for my suffering, right?
Mm.
So, in essence, then, do any women want a high value man? I already told y'all, we did not evolve to worship these little imaginary pieces of paper called money. We didn't. We didn't evolve to value them in any way, right? We are being socialized to value them and to see them as more valuable than, say, what some guy does with his hands. That is far more valuable, because if there was a zombie apocalypse tomorrow, trust me, your $10 billion ain't going to save you at all, right? But the dude who's only making 28,000 a year, but he can build shit, he can kill like animals no problem and make traps, make sure you've always got fire, he knows how to food this, he's going to help you survive, right? So you look at that balance there. But do any women really want high value men? No, they just think it's a trade-off. Either they're going to get finally these qualities they magically ascribe to the high value man, or no man has those good qualities, so I might as well get paid for my suffering. So in essence, that's the way I see the high value man question: is it's a fallacy to begin with.
And welcome to the
Yeah,
panel.
that's the thing. I don't even comment on that. So, oh, high value man, all that. That causes too many arguments that never end. That it ends up. I'll call it lamb chops.
Mm.
This is a song that never ends. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
That was a great
That's
show.
lamb chop.
Yeah.
It's lamb chops. It's a song that never ends. I'm like,
Yep.
man, what happened to? Do you all have a plan that you could look back? I mean, this is just me. I can only speak about me because other people, I don't know where they at. But look back 5 years and say, hey, look at what we did. Not no look at what I did or what you did. Look at what we
Mm-hmm.
did collectively.
Mm-hmm.
Remember 5 years ago, we were singing Nobody Knows. you know, now 5 years later, we singing a whole different tune. See? And that's how I go about. Like I said, I may be odd or something as a human being or something, but you know, I try to look 5 years down the road and say, okay, now what can we accomplish as a team in
Understandable.
5 years?
That's
You know
what
what I'm
men do.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how I go about
Goals.
looking at things.
Yes.
Yeah, you make
And
goals for yourself. Yeah.
Direction, leadership.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
you have to have a willing partner that is willing to sign on and do the for with and make it happen. Now, I mean, in my situation personally, I thought I found that. This is what I thought because I was like, okay, you've always been employed. You have one child. The marriage didn't work out. Okay. Uh, all right.
It's life. It
We
happens sometimes.
yeah, we can
Mm-hmm.
make this happen, but it didn't happen. It's like 5 years later. I'm like, okay, uh, we haven't gained a lot of ground here. I mean, um, and it's like the first step was, you know, it was a flag on the play from the first step. It's like, okay, she had this thing for BMWs. I said, okay, well, look, you got your little bucket of bolts. I have a new model year vehicle. In about 6 months, I'm going to have to go to Iraq for about 16 months. You come here, you drive my vehicle for whatever you need to do, job hunt or whatever you're going to do, and I will pocket the combat pay because it's lovely and it's tax free. Well, all of it's tax free. And I will do that. And then when I get back, I got the per diem. Okay. Because I'm great at budgeting. By the time I get back, we're looking at what? 22K in the bank? Okay. You want this BMW that's about 35K. Okay. I know I'm going to get paid. I'm in the Army. Put that whole kit and caboodle down on the vehicle. Okay. Because I'm still going to be going from base to another base within a number of years. So it's not like, well, let's buy a house and settle down. No, I'm not in the last leg of my career yet. Whereas I know when I get out, this is where we're staying. You outline, you make a career path, right? Didn't work. Walk through the door with a $500 a month car note. I'm like, okay. Then later, oh, well, I should have. It's not like you didn't know. I explained this to you as if you were a 5-year old. And I don't say that to be insulting to anyone's intelligence, but I make it as simple as possible to be understood, you know? And low interest and this and that, all of that. But you get some
Mhm.
people, you know, that have been scarred in their childhood and they have issues with that. And that's
Mm.
one thing within Black America, not to stray off your topic
You
too
have.
badly,
Continue. I'm
but
interested in the story. Go ahead.
okay, mental health help. Now, as time went on, it dawned on me this is someone I don't know exactly what happened. I never asked, but this is something that someone that went through some type of childhood trauma
Hmm.
of some sort. And I'm like, okay, look, you can get help. It's free. Just go on base. This is what you need to do. Thus and
Mm.
so, I'm like, because I have mental health issues and I'm going in and seeing people, and that's keeping me leveled off as best that I could be leveled at the state I'm at, you know, but that black thing kicked in. I don't want everybody in my business. I'm like,
Mm.
getting help or the stigmatism of the mental health thing. I mean, there are people that I've known for years, decades. You know, he crazy. You know, he got PTSD, and they make jokes about it. I'm like, it doesn't offend me because I'm getting handsomely paid for it. So you're still punching the clock every day, trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Okay, I'm not doing any of that. So it's not a stigmatism. You know, we need to get out of this rut of you're not getting help because see, that's what's causing, in my opinion only, that's what's causing a lot of disastrous relationships because people, they'll, oh, they make me feel so good. And in the process of the feel good, they're making you forget you got issues. You see what I'm saying? But then
Mm.
after that feel good honeymoon time is over with, now the issues are right back in your face. And the cure is not in a bottle, not in a blunt, not in a pill. It's through therapy. Get the therapy. It works, you know, and
All right.
that's the hardest thing that I know for a number of black people to get. Like, you know, that
True.
movie Precious, that should have been the doggone flare in the sky to tell black people, you see that movie? There's a lot of women that can relate to that. And it's also
Hmm.
men that can relate to that type of abuse in the
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
home.
Yeah.
Get therapy. And that's one of the things that, you know, when I'm doing my social media thing, I preach get therapy. There's no shame in it. Why be shame over something that can help you? You want to walk around with this big old bag of hurt and pain as if it's some badge of honor, like somebody that did 5 years in the joint because they got caught doing whatever they was doing out here. Like that's a badge of honor. No, it's not. You're living in a personal hell. Get the help, but you can
Well,
only point people in the right direction. I
I'm gonna
mean,
say this,
that's.
Leonard. You
Hmm.
know, everyone on YouTube has six figures and no problem. So sorry, they're not
Oh yeah,
listening. I want to
don't they though?
also. We only got a little time
Ooh, don't
left.
they though?
I
Oh,
want to introduce Gray.
God.
Welcome to the panel. How are you?
Hey,
Oh, I'm
greetings,
sorry. I
esteemed,
went
Salutations,
too
sir.
Hey,
long.
how are
It's all
you?
right.
greetings,
Salutations.
esteemed nobles. What is up
Greetings.
here? Lady Charlie, Ruby, Lady Wanda, my esteemed brother Dre, and shipmate. What is good?
All right. Well, this is the last topic. And if you want to go ahead and go first, and then we'll go around, and then we'll bring it on home. Um, the women, of course, has to be the one that really get into this one. But if you would like to, respond to what do women bring to the table, you are welcome to do so.
Well, first of all, we have to understand something about this whole topic of what women bring to the table. And there's a reason why, throughout the annals of history, this is a question that has always been targeted at men for a specific reason. Right? It was never
Hmm.
targeted at women. You want to know why it was never targeted at women?
Because it's stupid to target it at women.
Thank
Because
you.
at the time that women was asking men is because they were, want to know the right suitors. And I was trying to find some video for that and I couldn't find it, but look like you got it in your head. So go ahead and share because I sure was looking in the 50s trying to find something. Go ahead.
So it's wonderful that this is the last thing because it's congruent with what was the first thing. Why are women? Why are black women so masculine? Well, when you have this new era of males asking what women bring to the table, you are asking her, in fact, to step into a masculine role. You are essentially the bitch. In reality,
Wow.
You know what women had to bring to the table? See, there's this myth that goes around in a lot of these places, especially online, that a woman's beauty is her currency. Actually, humans have not evolved very much in the last 10 to 20,000 years. Very little. And it was at that point, right, 10 to 20,000 years ago, in which males developed these, let's just say, constructs that differentiated one male from another, greater from the lesser, weaker from the stronger, privileged from the unprivileged. That's only happened in the dynastic period. That question breaks the very social contract in which relationships have been fostering and developing and evolving from. You are asking her to step into that very masculine role, but then you'll turn around and you'll ask, right? Why won't women let us lead? Well, you asked her what she brought to the table. I mean,
But Cerulean, feminists want equality.
Huh.
well, let's just put this in perspective, right? In what period of time, right, has society, in particularly male-dominated societies, ever cared about what women wanted?
Mm.
Mhm.
The year 2000s?
So you mean to tell me that all of a sudden you care what women want?
Ouch.
But see, your biology literally has not caught up to that time to where you can have equality. But see, it's always the progression of evolution, right? Social evolution to push towards what is called egalitarianism. What is egalitarianism? Well, it's still not really equal, but everyone that is a part of the arrangement is satisfied enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you hear a male, especially, asking this question, it implies that one, he is not satisfied enough with the very woman that he is courting. So therefore, she must bring something extra other than that which he is chasing her for.
Mm. Well,
In fact, it is the male that is saying, this is one of those things, if you remember, I typed in the chat earlier, that it's not really that women are becoming more masculine. Is it women becoming more masculine, or is it that, like, the modern male has just become that much weaker than his previous generations?
yeah.
Because understand something. If you're sitting there, a guy that's talking about, asking a woman what she brings to the table, right? You have stepped into a feminine role. This is how you.
Nothing but
This is how
truth.
you. This is how you silently, like, give an open admission to weakness. Whereas previous generations of male, hell, I still have it. I have a pathological fear of vulnerability. And I am not that vulnerable to be able to, ask a woman what she brings to the table.
Mm.
And if
Yeah,
you've ever
that
been,
as a woman, that wouldn't make me feel comfortable, because it's like he's saying, if I don't have anything, we ain't gonna make it. I'm in a full panic. Like, wait a minute, so if I
right.
didn't
Just
have
think
this,
about
we
it,
wouldn't make it. So we need to have mine for us to make it. I'm in a full panic. It's like, what
I mean,
are we
just think
doing?
about it, right? Just think
Mm-hmm.
about it, right? But on average, back in the day, a man would hear this, right? And it implies everything that is tied in to our masculinity. What you bring to the table? Well, I'm a fuck fighter, I'm a goddamn soldier, yada yada yada. You got to chop down your whole resume. It's literally allowing her to verify that if we get together, everything is going to be fine.
You don't have to worry about nothing.
Exactly. And that is how it should be, you know. That's where you feel comfortable. That's where you as a woman, you can relax, you know, if you don't have to worry about that. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, I got the thing, you know, to make fire, you know, I have the tent, you know. I'm like, okay, well, good. You know, I can, you know, throw some wood on it. I can cook, you know. It's like you start putting together your skills, you know. Not one person's going to do everything, but, you know, he's not saying, you know, oh, well, the only way we're going to make this work is if you can cook. You know,
The
that's going to
problem
get
is,
done anyway. That's going to get
Now
done anyway.
see, the
that goes
problem is,
right back into something I said earlier, as of the modern family raising style, that these boys are being raised
going down
to.
slippery slope there, buddy.
No, let me tell you. And this is what I said earlier. I don't know if you caught it, but women are raising their children, to their female daughters, to be independent and have their thing together, make it on their own, and they're
You know,
loving their sons into dependency on a woman. And that's why those men, well, what are you bringing to the table? The majority of the men that I see asking women, what do you bring to the table? They don't even have a table for a woman to bring something and put it on.
and that's a woman's appropriate response, right, to that question is, are you asking me, right, to step into the, you know, the pants wearer of the situation?
My
Because
answer would be just no. That's it.
Serious. It's like
as a
these
matter of
guys
fact,
that move in, they meet these women, and the women are go-getters. They doing their thing. She got a nice place to live and all that, and they move in with the woman, and then they try to be the man of the house. It's like, okay, how you gonna be the king of the castle and your name ain't on it?
as a matter of fact, I'll take it even further.
I mean, make it make sense to me. Make it make
I'll
sense
take
to
it,
me.
I'll take it even further. If a man asks you this question as a woman, just get up from the table and fucking leave, and on your way out, say, I'm sorry, but I was looking for a man, not a roommate.
Yeah, because you look at all these hobosexuals you got out here today.
You know, this is what I thought of when I was looking for, you know, this question. When do you ask the woman? Because I've, you know, heard several shows or whatever, but I've never heard when a man says this is when you ask the question. And that's what I'm, you know, I was like to have someone to tell me when do, you know, when did the guy ask the woman?
Oh, that's
Never.
easy.
You
don't
don't
Oh no,
ask
they
never.
the
do.
woman that.
No,
No, no,
men
no,
do.
You
So I'll
don't.
tell y'all when.
That's not a question that you ask.
No, but
The
they
thing
do.
is,
So I'm going to tell you
you
when they do. They ask the woman, what do they bring to the table? When a woman asks at all what they bring to the table, they don't even have to use that phrasing, right? It's just in general, when a woman asks a question to the man regarding his ability to provide or protect, you know, or lead in any significant ways, and what are your husband qualities, right? Then he asks in a defensive, retaliatory way. Because in essence, the question is only really there to deflect from the fact that their answer they know is not a sufficient answer that a woman would go, oh, that's husband quality. I think I would choose you. Right. And so they
see.
deflect. And then that way they're going to blow it up, just like you were saying earlier, Leonard, about people who self sabotage. It's a way of sabotaging something before you can be embarrassed for it and flipping the script. So that way now it's all about the woman failing, even though you know if you had answered the question, the answer is nothing. You bring nothing because you've established nothing, because you've self actualized not at all, and because you're still currently lost. And if anything, she probably does bring more to the table than you possibly could right now.
You know what? Seriously, that's a question that you ask if you're doing like a speed date. You're going to spend like 3 minutes with that person. Okay, now what do you bring to the table? I mean, come on. If you're getting to know someone and you're in a, you know, you're embarking on a serious relationship with someone, are you going to sit, what do you bring to the table? You know where this person works. You know how they are going about their life. You should be able to watch this person. Yeah, of course you're gonna have to ask some questions, but you're gonna sit just at ground zero, just sit up there and ask someone you've been dating, for 8 months. What do you bring to the table?
No one is asking that.
That's a question you ask in
Oh,
speed dating. If you're gonna be speed dating.
I'll take it even further than that, right? You see, the reason why men, right, have never asked women historically what they bring to the table is because when men are leaders and men are head of the household, or was that line Jesse Lee Peterson says, when men are the head of their wives.
Are you ahead of your wife?
What
Oh
a
my God,
woman,
that was so good.
what a woman brings to the table is inherently dictated by the man.
Facts. That's what I say.
You see, so whenever he's asking the woman, right, what she brings to the table, it implies that he is not a leader.
Facts. That's what I say. Mm-hmm.
See,
Julian's giving my answer. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because that is a question. That is a question that you ask a leader. In fact, as a matter of fact, we'll take it to our military, right?
All right.
When you join the military, right? The military doesn't ask you what you bring to the table. The military dictates that you pass a set of tests, an ASVAB, a combat fitness exam, boot camp. It dictates what you are to bring to the table. That is leadership.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then when it comes to leadership, you have mentorship and guidance.
Well,
And
yeah.
some people really didn't understand my leadership style. Like, if you're in a leadership position, you always have your can't get rights. You got them. And if you focus all your attention on them, your doggone get right soldiers, if they see this person is getting all the attention, the extra training, the this and that, and I'm not getting nothing, I'm doing my job. Well, hell, why should I perform to my optimal level when I don't get any doggone counseling statements that are good? Now, see, what I used to do, if a soldier did something outstanding, I would write them a positive counseling and recommend them for early promotion. Now, they can't get rights. I would tell them, hey, look, you messed up, right? Uh-huh. I'm going to show you how to do this. Mm-hmm. If you do it again, I'm going to put paperwork and go ahead and send you back home because, this is not rocket science here.
Well, I mean,
it's not that hard.
But see, this is what I'm saying. Just imagine, right? An institution like the military asking its own recruits what they bring to the table.
Exactly.
That's why the military trains you for the job you're going to be doing, because what you bring to the table is ultimately dictated by the leader.
Right. You bring yourself and you learn.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, that's why my answer has always been basically exactly what Cerulean said. And I explain it to the guys. I break it down. I say, listen, I have a whole wealth of skills and experiences. Y'all know that. I can do a lot of shit that maybe the average woman can't do, but I can do a lot of shit that apparently the average woman these days should be able to do and can't. Either way, it doesn't matter what I bring to the table, right? Because I am not the leader or the head of the household. My job, and especially if you're preaching traditional values, my job as a woman, right, is to be in submission to the leader of my household, i.e. my man, which means he is going to set the direction. He's going to set what it is, where he's going, where we are going, right? And what he needs from me in support in order for us to attain that goal faster and better, right? And so therefore, what I bring to the table is irrelevant, right? Because all I need to bring to the table is a willingness to learn to fulfill the role at hand. That's the only thing I have to bring to the table. It is an ability and a willingness to learn to do the things that I need to do to support your goal. That's the only thing I need to do. And so when these men ask these questions, that's why I tell them, I'm like, it is literally the type of thing where you are trying to set women up to fail, because there's nothing that woman can say that is going to satisfy every man. Why? Because each man is going to require a different thing from a wife, from a woman, to support what it is that he's doing. So how am I going to answer that question in a general way, right? What I bring to the table, quote unquote, right, in my marriage right now, probably won't work for 90% of you. Who cares? It doesn't have to. It only needs to work for the man I'm married to.
One. Yeah, it only needs
Right.
to work for one of you.
Well, see,
just
I
one.
mean, that's the thing. If you go into the fact of, honey, the water won't drain, the sink is clogged. Okay, let me call the plumber. Excuse me? You don't call, honey, the sink is clogged. You know what that means? That means that that man figures that out. If you got to go on YouTube, how to unclog a sink, because it's so easy to do
Man,
stuff today. It's all on
I
YouTube.
don't care how it gets unplugged. I don't want to see water sitting in my sink or in my
Exactly.
tub.
And
Or
that is
I don't
not
care if
for
he
the
called
woman
somebody.
to do.
I ain't
He
gonna
better
worry
get
about it
that fixed, get it
immediately.
fixed.
Whether he
Bottom
calls
line up
somebody or
front.
whether he does it himself, I don't care. Next time I go in there, I'd like to please not see that. Thank you.
Right.
See, that's why that question, what it's indicative that that dude isn't squared away. He just not.
Exactly. Be like, what do you bring to the table? I'm the security of the house. I tell you when stuff broken, you fix it. That's what I'm bringing to the table. Now, what's next?
Right. Like what Vonda said, though, is really important, right? Because Vonda and me are two different people, right? I care that he has the gumption within himself and the drive within himself to try to figure out how to fix this problem. I also do care, though, that he recognizes himself. So if he figures out that he really can't fix this at this point, that he's going to do what needs to be done to get it resolved, even if it means calling someone else. Whereas Vonda doesn't care what step one is. As long as it gets fixed, she's good. So therefore, we're going to sign up to jump on two completely different types of trains heading in two different directions in two different ways, right? That's fine. But that's the whole point. Men need to set themselves. They need to self-actualize. They need to become grounded. They need to become leaders while they are single, long before they find a wife. They have to be leading, because they have to be leading the damn selves. And a lot of them are not. They're wandering around in circles. And then when they find a woman, they go, well, I'm going to lead you now. To where?
Are you my mommy? What they're really saying is, are you my mommy?
It's like they're gonna start building the track now. Okay, come and build the track for me, and then push the train, and I'll be in the conductor seat. And where are we building the track to? I don't know, but we're going, and I'm the leader. Like what? No.
Yeah, and then sometimes things should not get said. Like one particular thing when I was talking about plumbing, it just came to my mind about a real world situation. My nephew, I'm on leave and I'm back home visiting, and it was a woman, had 3 boys. Her sink was clogged up. Not the sink, the toilet, or something. There was one or the other. I can't recall exactly what everything was, but I went by there to doggone do the repair, right? The little boy is looking at what I'm doing, and she's like, "Oh, get on out of there! That man all up in the way." And I was like, "Yo, yo, 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 slow your roll." It's like, what? I'm like, he's a boy. I'm a man. He's looking at what I'm doing. You know what he's doing right now? He's learning. He's learning manhood traits. You need a man that knows how to do things with your sons to teach them manhood traits so that they know how to do these things, not just a doggone bed warmer in your house. You see what I'm saying? Stop doggone pushing them kids away from, getting their hands dirty or something, or being inquisitive. Or, oh, that's how that worked, this and that. Because, I mean, now I don't have the scientific data on this, but, boys are, they want to learn stuff. It's like when I was a child, you'll have something be wrong with the phone. You get the phone guy come over running wires and stuff. I'm all behind them looking at everything. I want to learn how to do this. This is man stuff. You know, all boys want their father. If they don't have one, they're gravitating towards a man that's using his hands and on some building and doing something and doing repairs, and they're learning. That's what boys do. You can't stand in the way of that. And from that being stood in the way of, that's why you got all these girly boys out here today.
Well,
I mean, they're
then
girly
that
boys.
to me
Then
that
they
would
want to say what
to
you bringing to
me
the table.
to me
It's
that would sound
crazy.
like there's an absence of fathers. You can't blame the woman. A woman does not know how to raise
I'm
a
not.
boy
It's not a
and being
blame
a man.
thing. I
Yep.
didn't
I'm
blame.
just saying.
Okay,
I'm just saying. Maybe
She's
it's
not
because
saying
the
you did.
fathers are not there. You know. And now
I
if the
didn't
man is
blame.
in there fixing the sink, let that man fix the sink. You know, don't scold her. She's trying to get you to go ahead and get your job done. You know, she don't know
I
if the
know
child's
this,
being a
but the
nuisance
thing
or not.
they're
You
not
know,
being a nuisance.
Yep. I agree,
Men
but
Honda.
how
understand.
does she
Look,
know? It's a professional
she
situation.
doesn't. That's the reason.
She's gonna. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying. She's
hold
gonna
on,
try to keep her
hold
child
on.
away from it.
She didn't. So I explained it to her. Then she understood. Oh, I said, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that was
Then she
very gracious
understood.
of you. I'm glad you did
I
that because
mean, I'm
that
all
was
about.
great.
I don't play the blame game with women. I don't play the blame game. I don't debate in the argument sense and well, look what you did. I mean, that's bitch like in my book. Bottom line up front. You
Well, you know what?
do
And from that
what you
point of view,
do
though,
as a man, and you be that man, and you get
here's
it
the thing,
cracking.
though. A lot of men, right? Just like a lot of women, I'm going to be real, we don't have proper role models. We have a lot of just doing what you need to do to get by, right? So we have a lot of young
Mm-hmm.
adults now who are in the position where, they're ready to settle down, start families, get married, whatever it is, and they don't know how to do things, right? Let's be real. They
You're
don't. They don't
absolutely right.
know their role. They don't know how to fulfill their role, right? My issue comes down to this, right? So you hear a lot of criticism against women who can't cook and can't this and can't this and can't this. Like, why are we acting like somehow or another the women aren't raised in the same families that the men are, right? Like, we're overall lacking proper role models as far as what we need to do. Because if you're raised by a single mom, guess what? Mom's not home to teach you how to bake and to cook that proper meal and blah, 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 because she's working 2, 3 jobs. She's not there. Right. So, I mean, we have to be realistic with each other. And I think it comes down to, for me, it comes down to a willingness. That's why I said not just an ability, but a willingness to learn. Right. And honestly, you see this a lot in other races, other cultures, and it's not criticized or put down. Right. Like white women, it's like a notorious joke that, the white woman gets married and then she burns everything for the first decade or two she's married. Right. She can't cook shit. And like she has this one thing she can accomplish, and the kids, that's what she makes for every special occasion, because the kids know that's the only thing she can cook properly, right? But she's making a goddamn effort. And the point is, it's about making an effort. It's about having the willingness internally for you to say, I don't know how to do these things, but you know what? For you and for what we're going to build together, it's worth it. I'm going to learn. I'm willing to apply myself. And the same goes on the other side for men, except we don't have that discussion. We don't have this discussion with the men saying, hey, we don't really know how to be proper leaders. We don't really know how to be proper husbands. We don't really know how to be proper fathers. We don't know how to be mentors in society. That's why we buck when people tell us we should, because we don't know how, because we didn't have any ourselves. We just know how to survive and get by, just like everyone else is doing. But we're going to point the fingers at the women who are surviving and getting by and making sure the kids don't die in a ditch by themselves. Or let's point fingers at them. Let's ask them what they bring to the table. Let's tell them they're failing at everything. Let's tell them they're masculine. Let's tell them we're all these things. And you know what? We don't have to focus on ourselves at all and figure out where it is that we are failing, because honestly, all of the men who are self-actualized, they have their shit together, they're leading themselves in a direction, they don't have these conversations, right? They don't sit there and expect women to this, that, and the next thing. They aren't intimidated by a woman who's been aggressive her whole life because she's never had anyone looking out for her. They don't give a shit. They can't wait to tame that aggressiveness and bring her into her full feminine and show her she can be safe, so she can be a little more vulnerable, because they understand inherently that submission is vulnerability. right? Yeah,
Well,
submission is
I
ultimate
don't.
vulnerability. It's an ultimate trust, and unless you can be ultimately trustworthy and ultimately safe, giving her a safe space, then how the hell you expect her to open up and suddenly be all soft and whatever and show you her vulnerable side and nurture you and nest and whatever, but meanwhile she's still just as unsafe and just as unprotected, so she has to be just as aggressive in this world, because what the hell else are you going to do, lie down and just be walked all over? Like, we got to be realistic here.
Okay, well, when it comes to a lot of that, I'm like, I'm not familiar with that type of behavior because I don't behave like that. But you should hear some of the conversations I had with some of these guys. Not a lot of them that I've encountered that I met. I had one recently. This guy, he got mad at me, and I was like, "Really, bruh? You know, we're talking about different things, and children came into the picture." I was like, "Bruh, you a serial baby daddy. I mean, you never got married to one of the women you have a child with, and then the woman that you're with now, you all have no children. You living with her, and you sitting here wearing your crown of the castle on your man thing. If that woman say call Tyrone, you got to pack your stuff and get on. But you the man, really? In what world? Oh, so he extra hot with me right now, but I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I mean, it's been guys that called me up, man, oh girl tripping. Really? Yeah, can I crash out at your place for a couple of days? Nope. Nope.
Mm.
You better figure out to rent a room. Hell no, you ain't coming over here. She said call Tyrone. My name is Leonard. No, I ain't doing that one, pimping. You better you better do like me and excel in your maleness, because you shouldn't have moved in with her in the first doggone place, because that is another doggone display of femininity. You're going to move into a ready-made home life situation like you're doing what? Going back home to your mother when she put your ass out. You see where I'm going with this? And they've grown accustomed to that behavior. And I'm like, go ahead and do it, you know? And you bust that move if you want to. Can't nobody kick me out of the way I live, because this is mine. I ain't going nowhere
Right.
but to
There you
sleep.
go.
So,
That's
you
the
know,
way it should be.
you know,
That's the way
and
it should be.
calling me up, go over, hey man, this here household problems. I gotta hang this door. You can't put the screws in the door by yourself with a power drill. Then don't have the right drill bits. Nothing. I'm like, did you? I don't even
You
have the
know what
words
though?
for it.
Can I want to say one thing about that, because it's a situation that pisses me the fuck off anyway. I'm just gonna be real. I don't really give a
Oh
shit whose
Lord.
name. No, it does. I don't care whose name is on the deed or on the lease or whatever it is, right? I think it's disgusting when people are in a relationship and then things get bad, you get in a fight and whatever, and then the person whose name is on the lease says, you need to get out of my house, in my house, da, da, da. Like, to me, it's so dysfunctional. It is so dysfunctional to do that, because yeah, your name might be on the lease, but you still entered into a life with this person. And you chose to cohabitate with this person. You can't, whenever you get a little inkling because you're mad, go and put that person out on the street. And I have seen this happen on both sides, right? Whether it's a woman whose name is on the lease or the man's. And now you've got a man out on the street, or a woman and her kid out on the street, or whatever it is, right? Because you got into a fight. Like, to me, that's not the way functional people behave, right? You fight, you take some time to cool off in different rooms, or maybe stay in a hotel overnight, and then you talk it out. And if you can't work it out, then you break up and you live amicably until one of you can reasonably find an apartment. That's what functional people do when they break up. They don't do all of this dysfunctional ass stuff about, it's my house, my rules. Yeah. So you better get out then. I'm gonna make you homeless. Why are we okay with that? Like, I understand what y'all are saying. I'm not disagreeing with the point you're making. But what I am saying is, either way, it's not okay that people do that. It's not okay that women turn around and, because their name's on the lease because they had the better credit, right? Or their name's on the mortgage because they had the better credit, Because they didn't go through whatever. Well, now they can put you out on the street as though you didn't enter into this together, and you therefore owe each other nothing. And I just don't like the hypocrisy of it's totally okay to do this to men, but like we would be outraged if a woman and a child was put out on the street in the same way in the middle of the night in December in Chicago. Like we wouldn't be okay with that. I'm not okay with the concept overall. I don't think it should be encouraged. I think we need to discourage this bullshit, but I understand the point y'all are making.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with me, I don't believe in living under the same roof unless we're married. That's just me. I don't chat.
Here's my
come
thing.
over, you off for the weekend. You can stay for the weekend, but it ain't no 365 because this is something that people say, and I'm quite sure that all of you have heard this, and everyone on here is at the age where they heard this. You don't really know a person until you live with them, and you see people that live together, and they still don't know each other. Once they get married, after the honeymoon is over with, that first year, things get real different, don't they? So you're not going to get to know a person because you live with them, because you do not have any type of, it's not really a legal contractionary agreement. Whereas if one leaves or whatever, you're going to be at a loss. If someone was affording their lifestyle, just like I am right now, woman moves in. Okay, well, I'm leaving. Okay, bye. I was supporting myself before you moved in. So you're not going to pay a percentage on the bills or whatever trying to be, well, I'm going to ease some of this burden on you. My burden wasn't heavy before you walked through the door. You dig? So, no, I don't do that live together thing. If we're married, we're under the same roof. If not, then we got two separate rules because I'm not going to play that game with nobody.
I do. I've absolutely lived with my ex-boyfriends. Absolutely did. And I'm like the one who will come into your house on the first day and like notice all of your, male-dominated traits that are terrible. Like talk about the fact that walking into my husband's house for the first time and it's like, his laundry was like in various piles, like the clean pile and the dirty piles. And then I was like, I went and fixed his laundry that day, right? Like I'm just that one. I'm very like domesticated, but like I said, I thrive in a couple environment. So other than when I was like a kid, when I was young, obviously you can't do that. But once I became, actually even when I was 16, I was technically living with my boyfriend then. But I've pretty much always lived with my significant others, almost all of them. And to me, I disagree with you a little bit because if you're in a really long-term relationship, if you're together for longer than 18 months, the honeymoon phase is over after 18 months max. And so either way, yes, you are absolutely going to see that person, whether you're married or not. And you are going to know all of their filthy little habits. I personally think the issue is people live with each other before they get married. They think when they get married, things will just magically change. It will become something different. It won't. It's going to be exactly the same shit as it was. You're going to go back home. He's still going to leave his socks on the floor. He's still going to forget to offer you something from McDonald's when he swings by. He's going to be the same person, right? So
yeah, because that's the thing with me. I don't do that live in the no, we're gonna do this or we're not gonna do it because I don't. That's just me personally. I don't do that one.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's just me as a person because you doggone move in. I mean, it's like when my son's mother came down here to visit him, right? She came down to visit. And he's over here, we're getting our man on doing what we do. I got a bachelor pad. She comes in, she starts talking about different things, and this needs to be picked up and that and da. I was like, you know what? You don't live here, so if you're uncomfortable with the surroundings as the way it looks, you go right back out the door. You're here to see our son. You take our son wherever you staying. How about that?
How about that?
See, you always, you always. I'm always what making sense. Okay, you need to fold up your
something else,
laundry.
Leonard.
You need to do this. You need to do that. This is my house. I'm comfortable with what is where it's at. Now, if you don't like it because you're not staying here, you don't live here, we're not married anymore. You have no stake. We have a well above age child together. You can kick rocks and go on head on. So, because she was in the military too. I'm like, you can ruck up, ride out, move out and draw fire. For real. I don't play that game. You don't, all they getting reckless at the mouth. Not in my house, no. Now, if you come here as a guest. You get reckless at the mouth, you better guess again, because I will throw you out.
Yeah.
It's all about respect. I'm not gonna go to somebody's house and your TV stand is dusty. When the last man, what's wrong with your ceiling fan blades? Who cleans in here? Be like, you don't live here. You can go back to where you live. You see what I'm saying?
No, I will do that, but I'll clean it though. To my man's house, I absolutely do that. I say exactly those types of things too, but I'll clean it, right? But I'll mock you as I clean it. Yeah, no, I will.
Well,
absolutely.
But somebody like me, the best bet you could do, start cleaning first and talk about it later. Because if you start talking about it first, you're gonna find yourself out the door.
Hey, at least it's gonna get clean. You gotta take the ribbing. It's gonna get clean. If I'm gonna point it out.
No,
I'm gonna be like,
house.
Why are you cleaning it? Where's your cleaning stuff? What the hell's wrong with you? Who raised you? As I'm sitting there cleaning it. Oh, I'm absolutely that's me.
Yeah, I handle that, but you're doing work. If you come in and you just post it up and you talking and pointing stuff out, it's like, okay, so this is an inspection drill, Sergeant. This is a GI inspection. Okay. You can GI your butt out my doggone domicile is what you can do messing with me. Because I'm a simple man. I am a very, very, I don't require a lot of nothing. I am so simple. And that's
what they all
it's like,
say.
I know that about me. I'm very simple.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining the panel.
Believe what you want.
Hope that you all join tomorrow for article reaction, because we got to find out what's going on with this mama calling this woman.
It gets so much better.
6:30
woman
p.m.
calling
Central
a mama.
You got to
tune in tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow. You'll get it. It's great.
Hey, you guys,
okay,
I
have to wait till tomorrow to see what.
That's right.
Like I said, I chime in on YouTube stuff, and people talk about different things, like the subjects tonight. Because I'm learning. I don't know